I don't know. I feel like the choice in putting this mural out here in this location of Cleveland was kind of a weird choice. But that's just me. What's up, you guys? Chet-Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all with another awesome episode of my Native American Heritage series. Anyway, every November, because it is Native American Heritage Month, I like to go to these Native American historic sites, and I like to talk about Native American history. I feel like it's a respect thing. It's just a thing to shed light on the people who came before. And anyway, you guys, since I am from Bradley County, Cleveland, Tennessee to be more exact, if you want to be specific, at one point this was one of the last great strongholds of the Cherokee Nation. In fact, Cleveland, Tennessee, before it was given that name, it was known as the Cherokee town of Amohee. Now, to the traders that were, or the fur traders that were coming into the area, coming and doing business, they called it Taylor Springs. But no, prior to the Cherokee removal, the Trail of Tears, Amohee was the name of this land. And today, you guys, we are going to see these historic sites from the town, the Cherokee town that was once Amohee. Amohee was one of the 8 districts of the Cherokee Nation, and its judge was Judge John Martin. Now, last year I did a video, or in Flint Springs, the community that sits on the Georgia-Tennessee line. That was once a Cherokee community. It was once John Ross's farm, but Judge Martin, his house stood along the highway, and if you saw that video, I'll put a link in the description box if you want to see that. But anyway, we are also going to check out the where the site of the Cherokee courthouse was. And did I say this is a weird spot to put a mural? But before we check out these sites today, you guys, we are going to go inside the museum center at 5 Points, and we are going to check out their Cherokee exhibit. I think it's still here, but they have an exhibit talking about the Cherokee that were here in this area. I believe also in the town of Amohee. But real quick, check out the carved chieftain. This is part of the Whispering Giants Trail. And I want to say that there's one of these in every state, in all 50 states, but I might be wrong. But it was carved in 1978 by Peter Toth. And this one, more specifically in that, it was carved in 1978. So it was a few years off. I thought it was 1974. Now the exhibit that they have here, you guys, at the museum, it's more focused on the Trail of Tears. Even though it's not related to the original town name of Amohee and what the Cherokee town looked like at the time, this is still some interesting history. So let's see what's in this case. Nuna Nuna Da'u Suni, the place where they cried. Of course, there's the route of the Trail of Tears. A lot of it went through Bradley County. I mean, then you got places like in Alabama where it took part in. But right here, beneath all that, here is a letter to Lewis Ross, to the surveyor of reservation, or letter from Lewis Ross to surveyor of reservation. And they had a hotel up in Charleston that we're going to show or check out in the next vlog. But here are some pieces that were found at the John Ross house that we went to last year. Some of the things that they found. And let's see. The Black Hat. In the 19th and 20th century, Native American leaders traveled to the capital to defend tribal interests. During their visits, government officials often presented tribal leaders with gifts such as this beaver skin top hat. Once home, these top hats were adorned to incorporate elements of tribal positions or identities. And they have one here on display. Over here they have a covered wagon, which is some more Trail of Tears history. But this talks about, let's see, the whole nation here is in greatest turmoil. No one trusts anyone anymore. Reverend John Schmidt, missionary to the Cherokees from Cherokee Reminiscence in the New Republic, 1986. Can any white man catch thunder? Can any white man catch lightning? Can any man catch wind? Interesting. Of course, Cherokee were originally, they resisted the white man's religion. Now that was, I mean, that was an interesting story that I once learned. Like, way back when, if you had somebody that was preaching to the Cherokee people at the, like, around 18th century, maybe 17th, no, they'd run you out of town on a rail, and if you didn't quit, they would, well, they would unalive you. But it's like if you would just stop, because that's one way of looking at it. Anyway, it's a really beautiful painting. Of course, Taylor's Place, that's what I mentioned previously, outside. So anyway, guys, this is everything that they have here at the museum that is related to the Cherokee people. Like I said, I wish they had a little more related to the town of Amohee, the focus on this vlog today. Well, regardless of them not having anything related to Amohee, that was still a rather cool exhibit that they had here at the Museum Center at 5 Points. A lot of stuff from the Trail of Tears, even a wagon, and talking about, or plaques talking about the Cherokee struggle moving out west. But anyway, guys, before we get onto more of this, we're gonna drive up to Fort Hill Cemetery, and we are going to visit the grave of Emily Meggs, the wife of Chief Jack Walker. Boy, I will sure let you all know that Find a Grave is probably one of the best websites ever when finding a grave. Because on the Museum Center of 5 Points brochure with all the historic sites here in what was Amohee, it only says go to Worth Street when finding the grave of Emily Meggs Walker. But here's her grave, you guys. You know, there's almost some irony here, because her husband, Chief Jack Walker, his grave has almost been lost to time. But his wife, or one of his wives I should say, Chief Jack Walker had another wife, I forget her name, but she lived with one of his relatives. But after Chief Jack Walker's murder, Emily Meggs, I want to say that she married again, and she died at the ripe old age of 82. So even back then she lived a good long life. But this is her grave, and it is in great shape. But anyway, guys, as I was saying, Find a Grave is very helpful. And if y'all want to see her grave, y'all don't know where the coordinates are, well, here is just to give you all an idea of where it's at, or what landmarks to look for, like between these two cedar trees and these graves right here. But yes, now that we have seen Emily Meggs' grave, or Emily Meggs Walker's grave, let's drive down to the road to Hair Conrad's cabin. That is the oldest structure in Bradley County. That is Cherokee. Just off to the side of the road, not far from Harrison Pike, is the cabin of Hair Conrad. Now, Hair Conrad, he was a very wealthy businessman within the Cherokee Nation. I forget how many acres he owned, but he owned quite a few. But in fact, on his farm, he owned about 12 buildings, and this cabin was one of the 12. But anyway, the style of building that it is, it's a Euro-American style build. But what makes Hair Conrad so interesting is he was one of the first faction of Cherokee to head out west and establishing the new government out there. Yes, now the this cabin is on Blythewood Farms property. If you want to see the inside of it, you have to book a tour, but we didn't do that today. But I just wanted to see it because I read about it. I mean, you got to think, this being the oldest cabin or oldest home structure in Bradley County is pretty darn neat. Now, it is this building and Judge John Martin's house that still are probably some of the last buildings in Cleveland. Now, Charleston has a few other buildings, and we're going to do a video on that as well. But there was a census done on Hair Conrad, and at the time it looked like he lived with relatives out on Candies Creek. It said half-breeds here. I think seven of them were half-breeds. I don't quite remember on that one, but yeah, such an amazing piece of history that's out just off to the side of the road. Now, you guys, we're gonna check out the site where the old Amohee courthouse once stood, and the location of it, you would be surprised. It's kind of an interesting contrast how places can be built on top of one another over a period of time. Now, in order to talk about where the old Amohee courthouse once stood, we must look at Philauer Lake, or what forms Philauer Lake, which is Thompson Springs. But according to historic documents, the old Amohee courthouse stood on top of a hill just south of Thompson Springs, which forms Philauer Lake. So, where that is presently, or if you look at it, that is where Mayfield Elementary School stands now. So yes, talk about strange. So the courthouse probably would have stood somewhere right around in here. And if you're curious to see what one of these courthouses would have looked like, I made a video at New Echota a couple of years back, a Native American Heritage Month, I believe 2 years ago. But anyway, they have a recreation of the Cherokee Supreme Court building. That's what that looked like. So I imagine the Amohee courthouse, that's what it probably would have looked like. But Judge John Martin, by the way, he was also treasurer of the Cherokee Nation. There are 2 known court cases that he is known for within the Cherokee Nation, or at least in this area. One time he lynched a man, or had a man lynched for murder, a Cherokee man lynched for murder, and it was in a tree just south of where the courthouse was. So I imagine that tree is lost to time, but it probably would not have, it probably would have been maybe where those apartment complexes are right there. But another one, I forgot what this Cherokee man did, but I think he stole a horse maybe, but he was lashed 70-ish times, I believe it was. But yeah, this is where, probably more than likely, where the courthouse once stood, on a hill just south of Thompson Springs, which is what created Philauer Lake. And these next couple of sites, you guys, this will be a similar case. Nothing being here, but either there is a historical marker or history behind it, which we are going to check out another place that was similar to this, similar to the story of the Amohee courthouse. and that is the home of one prominent Cherokee man. And his home actually sat where Cleveland High School stands now. I'll tell you more about it when we get there. Now, after doing a little bit of driving, I am here at Cleveland High School, or the new end of Cleveland High School. This was built way after I went here many moons ago. I was in the class of 2010. But the Cherokee farm that once stood where the high school stands now, his name was Reverend Jesse Bushyhead. He owned a very large farm here in what is now Cleveland High School. But anyway, just for a little bit of information, sorry, it's just so windy outside. He was he was a very highly respected religious and political figure among the Cherokee in this area, and even amongst the Cherokee Nation. But he was a student at the Candy Creek Mission and an ordained Baptist minister, as I was saying. But after the detachment, he established a Baptist mission near Westville, Oklahoma, and became Chief Justice of the Cherokee Nation. And he had several siblings. Sister Nancy, or Nanny, was married to John Walker Jr. Another sister, Susan, served as school governess at the Red Clay Mission. Bushyhead had 2 children by his first wife and 9 by his second, Eliza Wilkinson. Now that is a difference right there. But anyway, this is where his cabin stood. It was a very large complex here at the time. But now just a high school stands where it does now. Now, as I was saying at the previous location that we were at, Reverend Bushyhead, he was an ordained Baptist minister through Candies Creek Mission. Well, here's where the mission once stood, as dictated by the historic marker right here. 4/10 of a mile east of this spot stood the Candies Creek Cherokee Indian Mission School and Church, organized by Dr. Samuel A. Worcester and other ministers from the Brainerd Mission and accepted by the Union Presbytery in 1824. The first church organized in what is now Bradley County. It closed in 1838 when the Cherokee were removed out to out west. And I just want to add this too. These Indian missions, while they may have been of faith, these missions were not the kindest to the Cherokee Nation. If you read like the history or behind what some of these missions were doing, it's very sad. Like some Cherokee children, they were beaten if they were caught speaking their language. I mean, just a very sad and dark time in history. But we've since then moved. At least I'd like to say that we've moved forward. But I just wanted to add that in there, that some Indian missions, I won't say all of them, but a lot of them had some pretty disturbing methods to Americanize the Cherokee. And man, this wind is messing with my hair. I need to get a haircut. I keep saying that. I've been saying that for the last 3-4 months. But you guys, since we are in the area, we are going to check out one more location. It's not related necessarily to Amohee, the town, the Cherokee town that became Cleveland, but rather it's a cool recreation that's at Cleveland Middle School. So it's just right up the road. I'll show it to you guys. It's pretty darn neat. Yes, Cleveland Middle was also an alma mater of mine, but they only started getting the cool stuff after I left. Kind of interesting how that works. Now, this isn't exactly what I want to show you guys. What I want to show you all is it is a Cherokee council house, or the recreation of a historic Cherokee council house. But real quick, let's check out this bench. That is a very large tree, and I want to say, let's say it's close to 200 years old. Here is the marker. This bench came from a historic red oak that stood proudly on the site of Cleveland Middle School. For many generations, Jenny Hooper was hired to cut down the tree in October 2010. He contacted businessman Alan Jones, who wanted to spare the log for future generations. The approximate age of the tree is between 92 and 100 years old. So during the days of the Cherokee, it really wasn't even a spark or a glare in the tree. Tree's parents, I don't know. I'm not sure how that would work, but still, this is cool. And here it is, just off to the side of the nature trail here at Cleveland Middle School, and right next to the baseball fields. This is a historical recreation of what one of the council houses or council buildings would have been for the historic Cherokee Nation, or the days before they became these big courthouse looking buildings. But here it talks about what this was about. The Cherokee Council House was a combination temple for religious rites and a public hall for civil and military councils. The traditional council house was 7-sided and could seat as many as 500 people. That is true. The 7 sides corresponded to the 7 clans of the Cherokee, with the members of each clan being seated in its designated section. The framework of the council house was also based upon the sacred number 7. Sacred numbers were present in the beliefs of most of the people of the world, and the ancient Cherokee were no exception. For them, the number was 7, and it pervaded nearly all aspects of their lives, even their concept of the universe, their concept of the 7 clans and the 7 great ceremonies. And right across from that, it talks a little bit about the 7 clans of the Cherokee Nation, which of course is the Bird Clan, the Blue Clan, the Paint Clan, Deer Clan, Wolf Clan, Wild Potato Clan, and Long Hair Clan. I believe Sequoia was a member of the Paint Clan. I might have to brush up on my historic Cherokee history, or from the days like around the 1700s. So let's go inside. They did a pretty good job, although I mean, I wouldn't say it's as big as one of the historical ones would have been. When I was an intern at the Sequoia Birthplace Museum, they had the framework of what one of the historic Cherokee council houses would have looked like while at Chota or Tanasi, or Tonshi. I mean, this is a couple of sizes down. But of course, you know, they have the Wolf Clan, Long Hair Clan, Blue Clan, Deer Clan, Paint Clan, and Bird Clan. But yeah, that's where everyone would sit during tribal meetings. And did you all know that if there was a fire ring put in the middle of this building, well, by Cherokee law, the Cherokee Nation, I think more specifically the Eastern Band, would have to use this building, because that's one of the things that I remember when being an intern. It's like if they had put a fire ring in the historical recreation of the council house, well, that means that the Eastern Band would have had to come down and use it, and that's about 2 hours, and I know a lot of them didn't feel like making the drive to do that. But anyway, guys, that is what remains of the historic Cherokee town of Amohee, the Cherokee town that became Bradley County in Cleveland, Tennessee. There are some things left. There are historical markers. There are homages homages to the people that came before, the principal people, like this this building right here. And you know what? I feel in a way that the voice of the Cherokee people is still here. Anyway, that's just my opinion. But anyway, guys, I hope you all like this video. It means a lot. I hope you all like it. It means a lot. It goes to show that you, and if you like it, it means a lot. It goes to show that y'all care, that y'all want to see more awesome videos like this. That's what I was trying to say. But anyway, guys, love y'all very much. See y'all in the next one. Peace.